LaDonna Batty, the nurse practitioner for 21 years, who spoke out recently about the Bahamas Resort sexual assault, was interviewed recently by Fox News from her clinic. Nurse Batty spoke on how much the two women were in shambles when she found the women and how much of the scene was enough to scare her.
I'm LaDonna Batty. I'm an F&P. I work in a clinic. It's called D Queen Health and Wellness in D Queen, Arkansas. I don't want to say that I saved them. I just assisted them. I just doing what I would normally do. I was up there getting a drink at the little cook shack, getting ready to get back on the tour bus because it was about around 10:45 and we were supposed to head back around 11:30. And I heard a bunch of commotion and someone ran around the corner and said, "Can you come help? Can you come help?" And they led me to them. They were up at the front office. Is where they were at. How they got to the front office, I don't know. I've asked Amber a couple times and she says she can't remember how she got there. And I walked into the scene and started trying to assist them.
Nurse Batty was at a drink shack with her husband when she was approached by someone asking her for help and was led to the resort's front office. Her statements claim to have not known the women prior, but once at the office, she immediately began treating and documenting their injuries.
Well, when I first walked in, at that time I didn't know their names, so I was calling them girl number 1 and girl number 2. Girl number 1 was right in the door entrance in the floor when I walked in. Girl number 2 was across from her in the floor, and that was Amber. And they were both in the floor. They looked in just a complete mess. Girl number 1, which is Don Gala, her bathing suit was very out of place. Her breast was exposed. She didn't even know that they were exposed. She was vomiting in the floor, coming in and out of consciousness is what girl number 1, which is Don Gala, was doing. Amber was over in the floor across from her. I immediately started trying to look at her and get her to come to and try to listen to me and talk to me. At that point, I was trying to look at their skin and trying to just look at everything. That way I would be able to write down what I seen because I could tell this was a bad situation. It was going to go south pretty quickly. Noticed that both girls had bruises on their legs, lots of bruises on their knees. From about kneecap down is the bruises that I noticed. I don't know. I immediately started I didn't have much to work with as far as to assess them besides just to try to check their pulse. So I started, trying to do that, which they were both elevated because they were very excited. I started trying to talk to Amber and she started just screaming out loud, we were raped by some guys, and just kept repeating that to me. And then in between that, she would have to stop because she felt like she was going to puke. And I just kept trying to redirect her and ask her as many questions as I could.
Now, while treating these women, Batty watched the surveillance footage to help in identifying the attackers, which they did identify one. He was brought into the office so the women can identify him as well. Now, with the Bahamian Resort calling Pirates Cove in Freeport, they refuted that their accusations were in conflict with the 16 time-stamped surveillance videos.
During that meantime, I was also trying to watch the video surveillances at front, where they were the two women that were in there from the resort. There was a lifeguard, and then the other lady that was there was the one that gave us the introduction when we got to the resort, kind of telling us what we could do and what we couldn't do, what the amenities were that we could use there. She was also looking at the cameras. I was watching the cameras. They were going through the footage, I guess trying to find the guy that she was saying was a staff member. And they did find that. They said, okay, here it is right here. And it was Amber and the staffer walking through the beach there. She was standing beside him. She had her arm hooked in his arm and they were just walking. And at that point, she sent someone to go get him, bring him up there for the girls to identify. And they did identify him. And they immediately started crying and getting louder and getting scared, acting, trembling even more when they brought him into the room.
Now, Nurse Batty only saw one of the suspects and said his presence made the women cry, but the suspect seemed to be unfazed by the accusation. After the supposed victims' sudden screams and traumatic reaction to seeing him, he was led outside where he sat, leaning in the back of his chair, scrolling on his phone.
In his arm, and they were just walking. And at that point, she sent someone to go get him, bring him up there for the girls to identify, and they did identify him, and they immediately started crying and getting louder and getting scared, acting, trembling even more when they brought him into the room. Oh, it escalated. It got worse. The crying, being even more scared. They were terrified. Both the girls were. I mean, they were terrified. I knew something had happened to them by looking at them. I could tell that they had been assaulted in some manner. Um, and then she blurted out that they were raped. And in between, like I said, Don Gala was in way worse shape as far as coming in and out of consciousness. She was trying to tell us some stuff, but in the meantime, she was puking. She was having a hard time conveying what had happened to her because she was actively getting sick and stuff. Amber was staying a little bit more focused, but I was like right in her face talking to her, asking her what had happened and stuff.
Now, even though the accused have been arrested, Pirates Cove acknowledged the seriousness of these allegations and confirmed that the Royal Bahamas Police Force is leading the criminal investigation in conjunction with the FBI. The accounts not adding up on the woman's part, Pirates Cove willingly handed over the footage to law enforcement.
I seen the comments about the videos being released and the timestamps didn't match up. I can't even, I guess, trying to fathom what they could even be talking about. I don't know what they mean by timestamp. Was the girl's story kind of jumbled and stuff? Absolutely. They were drugged, trying to pull their thoughts together and tell a detailed event of what exactly happened. I mean, for someone that wasn't drugged, that would be hard when you went through something traumatic. So I don't know why they're tearing that apart. I mean, like I said, I understand 100% people being skeptical of the situation. I see it every day in my clinic when people come in here and tell me things and trying to get things that I don't want to prescribe. I get that. I see that. You kind of got to step back and be like, oh, okay. But I have no disbelief what happened with them when I walked in the room. And that's all I can speak on is what I visually seen in that room. And immediately I knew something had happened to them by just the way they looked and then the way they were acting. I can't speak on anything that was on the video. I didn't see all the videos, but I can't imagine what they're talking about. Time stamped. I don't know where they were even found or how they got to the front office. But all I can speak on is what I walked into and seen. The scene that I seen led me to believe that these girls had been assaulted in some form or fashion. These girls had been hurt. They had bruises on their legs. Their clothes were all in a mess. Their hair was in a mess. They were in complete shambles.
Now, Batty's claims of not being able to locate these women until after they made it back to Florida Airport, she pushed through trying to find the two women to check on them personally. Frankie King, the mother of Dobson, who is also transgender, made a statement saying that when she logged onto Facebook is when she noticed the women not being themselves.
My name is Frankie King. I am the mother of Dongayla Dobson. And her best friend has been like a adopted daughter for many years. They've been friends for over 20 years. That morning before I left for an excursion that I was going to do that day, got on Facebook and saw, well, first I got FaceTime for my daughter to see how she was that morning. We were kind of doing that every morning. And she seemed a little weird, and I asked her if she was okay. And she said she was fine and just sat down at a bar and was having a drink. A few minutes later, I logged on Facebook, saw a video where they were all over the place and just giggling and laughing and just not themselves at all. So I called my daughter back. Are you sure you're okay? Are you guys sure you're fine? How many drinks have you had? Well, not even a whole one yet. But we don't drink very often, so it's probably just hitting us hard. And I was like, well, if you say so, but just holler at me later. And then went on an excursion. Maybe 2.5 hours later, I get a text that says, please call, we've been drugged and raped. Every parent's worst nightmare. Your child is in trouble, in danger, and scared, and they are 300 miles away, 500, whatever. I can't get to them. And then to actually getting to see them, it was a full 24 hours plus a little, because we had to wait and meet them once we got to the airport.
These women were found in the bathroom floor unconscious by a resort housekeeper and knew the woman, Nurse Batty. King mentions how Nurse Batty was a heroine for her help in the situation, saying she was so nice, and when they met her at the airport, Nurse Batty made sure she had all their information. Batty even called them every day to see how they were doing.
They were found in a bathroom on the resort. And then somebody that was there in the area when they were found had talked to the nurse practitioner earlier and knew she was on the beach and part of the cruise. She had actually talked to the girls a couple of days before and met with them. And so she kind of met them before, went and got her and brought her to the girls to, see what they needed, how bad were their injuries and that kind of thing. She documented everything. She made sure that they were safe and told them what they might need to do. And that was their biggest thing when they started posting not long after it had happened, that they wanted people to be aware that it's a dangerous place, because they felt like they had no warning. They had been a trip warning advisory, but they had seen nothing of it. The crews didn't, so they did nothing about it. A lot of support and sorry that it happened, and people with things that similar to me happened, and then there are, of course, those that are, a couple in particular that I remember that I saw. If you hadn't been in those bikinis, maybe it wouldn't have happened. They were on a beach, it was 90 degrees, okay? And then another guy said, well, if I'd have been there, I'd probably done the same thing. That's the two that I remember the most, but there's been a whole lot of things along that lines, that they got what they asked for or got what they deserved. Nobody asked for nor deserves it.
After returning home, the two women began warning others about the cruise on social media. Dom's mother claims of encouraging and uplifting responses were received by others, but other people responded with venomous remarks. The response to their claims online caused the two women to shut down their social media accounts. Dobson, who is married, is receiving support from her husband and kids about the mental trauma she is dealing with. Dobson's mother states that her daughter is in fear of her husband even leaving. And with having her family by her side, neither one of them is working right now, so Dobson's mother started the GoFundMe for support. A GoFundMe that raised $2,120 with 40 donations since my last post of $350 and could be going to the max goal of $10,000. Now, with the social media platform, people always love to share more than what is asked, and I couldn't help noticing the claim of the women constantly posting to warn others was only one post about the advocacy of change with Bahamas Resort, but few posts of days prior to this account. They shut their social media down after the many comments that were made of their claims being false, so maybe that is why there was only one. Shira also seems to be in a relationship or married, as she has a singular post of a man she is with. So concluding that the women are in relationships, the husbands nor have the accused spoke out yet on this matter, and I'm curious as to why. How do the men feel about this account? And will we hear from the accused their side of the story? The identified man from footage by Nurse Batty didn't seem concerned about the situation at all. Her statement, not mine. So don't he have a say that we can hear as well? I think it's only fair since this is so one-sided. And I would like to know if the husbands have any concern. But I guess in the times we are in, none of that matters, as we're supposed to just believe their story and boycott the Bahama Resort when they clearly made an advisory announcement prior to the incident. An incident that could have definitely been avoided if the women paid more attention. Or is this just an easy out for their bad decisions? But what do y'all think? Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell to alert you for all new videos. Check out the links in the description box below. And as always, I thank you all for watching.